Welcome to this video. Thanks for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome, and welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. It's morning for me. I hope everybody had a wonderful gratitude day. Every day should be a Thanksgiving, right? But it is nice when we can spend or send both a little bit more gratitude out into the energy around us and voice it with our friends and family and coworkers and loved ones and so on and so forth. I'm just going to go into a little flow, a little light language. I get a lot of downloads and activations while I drive, so we'll just see what comes through. Tor endara astastarok et endarahak estek erahak de estarahak et endarak de estak arahak Yendara estaraha rondahak esta. Kiendara rondo rostara orendara tindara Dera raustroret endaraha rotok Dera at indera stanahak Toruk endaro rostanahar Dera endaro randak estoror endira hor enare tindara estar et Kira et har et in de rust in ak et erhan. Gur andur ist arhin et istar akur. Estarhak There are many energies swirling around you as of late. There are many energies that are coming into our awareness. Many energies that we have not tapped into or that we have yet to see, that we have yet to review, that we have yet to bring into our view of expanded awareness. And we are all set upon this earth with a multiplicity factor, with a multiplicity domain, if you will. And as we multiply our reverence for each other, for humanity, for the expansiveness that we are all capable of, it allows us to spill forward, to spill out of the encasement. I'm seeing a box of the encasements, entrapments that we have filed ourselves into in the past, that we have perhaps complacently, complicitly subjected ourselves to, knowingly or unknowingly. For this past has set I'm hearing a set of rules upon us. It has created a stormboard, if you will. I'm seeing a lighthouse and all four directions, but it's you would see on a compass. So it's a lighthouse and a compass. Of course, I'm seeing double eights, but it's a lighthouse and a compass, but it looks like a star in the center of the lighthouse, in the center of the circle, and then the top that's going up to the crown is the lighthouse. And I'm seeing this is so symbolic because what I'm being guided to share with you guys right now through this energy share, light language share, is that it's a lot of us are tapping back into that creative source, that connection to our greater source, that connection into that greater source, which is our lighthouse, which is our battery, which is connected to the divinity in which we are all connected into. And the more that we tap and reach up for this and anchor that into our bodies and into the Mother Earth, we also then send ourselves out into our multidimensionality. So when I look at a compass, I don't just see all 4 directions. And when I look at a human body, if you stand with your arms outstretched and you stand straight, you are a cross, right? You are the center of 4 directions. Yet there's also inner to outer, outer to inner, above, below, so within, so without, and there's the diagonal. So we're looking at an avatar for a, it's not like we just turn in front, sideways, look up, look down. We move in all of these different directions in a fluid momentum is what I'm hearing. And as we allow the frequencies that have been combining to assist us, to move us along our greater trajectory, our greater path of expansion, as we allow ourselves to tap more into our bliss-filled light entrainment, light enchainment. So I'm seeing that the more we step out of this old box and this old, what I'm hearing is conservation force. Like there's been a force, if we want to be linear about this, well, non-linear, but if we want to just look at this, that has worked to contain us. And we have knowingly, but also unknowingly at times, both ways, allowed ourselves to be guided and put into this box. And this keeps us from really accessing the lighthouse with it. And I'm being guided to make that correction. It has kept us from really tuning into this higher expressive capacity. But there are so many that have broken. I'm seeing broken the lock and the key. And so if I see that breaking the lock and the key, it's because we don't have to get back in. We're already out of it. We don't need a key. We are the key. Going back and forth between languages here. And as we open ourselves up to the airways, I'm seeing it, the breath, the breathing. The breath is the life. Open ourselves up to airways. That's a play on words. The passages come through. The passages of time. We are moving through another passage, if you will. And I'm seeing this as so many different layers of meaning there. It's play on words. So if you think of passages in a book or the Bible or great texts, I'm seeing passages of time. I'm also seeing the rites of passage, which has to do with the Native Americans or the natives, right? They don't have to be American. I have the Cherokee Chippewa flavor in my lineage, and so I have a tendency to say Native American, but this goes so beyond basically the rites of passage. We've all earned this right? So we've earned this right through being human and experiencing what we've experienced. The question that I'm being invited to ask is, do we see that? Are we recognizing that? Are we continually setting us up? I'm hearing it's the rites of passage. It's our birthright. But we've gone through, so there's a lot of different meanings to this. As we go through these different passages, chapters of our lives, so to speak, as we see our lives pass before us, in front of us, what has left, seeing behind us, what has left us behind, but also what we have left behind. We recognize that each of us has such a high capacity for charge. So this is a play on words, but I'm seeing like the difficulties that many of us that have gone through, right, actually creates, oftentimes gives us that charge to push us forward, to ignite. I'm hearing switch our reflex, get out of like a reflex. It changes our position. It changes our perspective. It switches the button so we can see things at a higher capacity. We can burn through, I'm seeing it like a rocket. It has to burn that fuel in order to get liftoff. So a lot of the things that have made us that have been challenging for us have been part of, I'm hearing, the birth canal. So when we go through the birth canal, we actually, it is a rite of passage as well. It's part of what we came here to do, to have that type of birth process, and that's a whole other video. But it's almost like I'm seeing us walking through, let's say, a birth canal, and within this birth canal holds all of these memories of who we are, of what we're going to be, of our ancestors, of all of the help and the guidance that we've got. And it's almost like, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, you're headed to that light, but all of this is still with you. You're taking it with you. And so I'm also seeing the butterfly metamorphosis. So the butterfly just melts into this jelly, so to speak, but within that jelly, it holds everything that the butterfly needs in order to turn, in order to be born, in order to fly. Metamorphosis. So there's so many layers that I'm being shown here. So as we allow ourselves to transmute, to transform, to become the metamorphosis that we are, in constant allowing of these interactions with ourselves, is what I'm seeing. We then allow ourselves to feel within us the flame of higher recognition, a higher unification that is being birthed through our higher access to consciousness, through our higher access to consciousness. This isn't just talking about that particular, there is a thing called access consciousness. It's like going through these rites of passage cleanses and purifies and brings forward a higher capacity for human interaction. So we have this just by being a human. I mean, many of us have gone through trials. I'm hearing trial by fire. I'm hearing waterboarding. I'm hearing, like, we've gone through a lot of things as many different, I'm at a stoplight, so is it many different lifetimes, but also in this lifetime. I mean, how many of us have gone through a broken heart, so to speak? We've gone through trials and tribulations, you know, parents that fought all the time when we were kids. Maybe there was abuse or trauma in our lives growing up. It might have been we had some type of traumatic accident. It might be that we've had things happen over and over again. I'm hearing karmic retributions for some of us. But what I'm hearing is that if more of us can see the capacity that we've already been there, done that, we don't have to continue going there doing that. And this is, I'm going back and forth to all of the messages that are coming through here. Recognize that most of us that have signed up for this on this human run have already been through the ringer. But I'm also seeing this as a play on words, the ringer. I'm seeing the rings, like, who are we? Like the rings from the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. Those are rings of some centripetal petals on the flowers. Force, okay? It is bliss. It is harmony. It is charge. So we all ignite within us a charge or a frequency that helps us from sputtering out. And the more we can find that charge, and this is where doing the work is so important. Breathing, yoga, meditation, doing unto others, doing things that make us happy and help us find our inner child are going to help us remember who we are, who we have been, and where we're going. And I say remember where we're going, because from my perspective, we came in here with that potential to see the future, to see and change it, to create different realities as we grow and expand based on what we might need in that moment. As you allow yourself to harmonize with acceptance, I'm hearing peace be with you, but also harmonize after the storm. harmonize during the storm. So finding that neutral presence with oneself, finding the ability to process the emotions from a higher capacity of acceptance that these trials and tribulations are part of the human experience, yet recognizing that we are beyond a human experience. This is only one experience that we are harnessing in this particular reality system, so to speak. And we are multidimensional beings that are harnessing many different, I'm hearing vocabularic equations, and this is also play on words, like many different views, many different access points. So if you look at the cross that I was speaking of, or the compass, we have a compass that we can channel through the heart and send that out into all variations, all directions. And as we send it out into all of these different directions, there becomes a, it's like you can just see choices that we've made and why we've made them. Things that we've done that maybe we thought weren't important, but then we start to recognize there was a reason that we chose that particular person, place, or experience, right? And the more we can come into alignment, and what I'm seeing is we may be going through something very difficult in our lives right now. It might be that we're very charged emotionally because we're activating this greater potential, and sometimes what can happen is it'll wake up within us untapped or unprocessed, unremembered, unexperienced emotions. So if we're going through a particular life challenge and we don't allow ourselves to realize or to acknowledge that we're having an emotional response, and we bury it and we say, oh, that doesn't bother me, or I keep having that, don't judge them, don't judge them, don't judge them. Oh, I judged them. Oh, I'm never gonna get ahead. I'm never going to ascend. I'm a terrible person. Or I'm not sad. I'm not sad. I'm not sad. It builds up that whole emotional eventually it has to come out. So it's like whenever I do energy work with someone, they'll be like, I don't know why I'm crying sometimes. Sometimes we'll know exactly why somebody might cry. Sometimes I don't know why I'm crying about something, but then I'll have like a picture that comes into my head later, and it could literally be emotions that I kept built up within me because I fell off my tricycle when I was a kid and my father said, don't cry. It can literally be that simple. Not everything has to be a big, complicated story, by the way, is kind of what I'm being guided to remind everybody about. Sometimes it's that simple. Just going, oh, that's interesting. And then that gives us the ability to feel what we didn't allow ourselves to feel. And this can be from previous lifetimes. So you guys, some of us are getting a crash course right now because it's giving us the ability to expand faster. This can be challenging. So it's important during these times to honor ourselves, honor our bodies, and honor each other. Recognizing that other people may have had some emotional trauma that came up from a previous lifetime. Let's say when they lived on a version of Earth that exploded. I mean, I'm going galactic, but that can hold a lot of trauma for someone if they haven't processed it. At the same time, it could be they never processed their parents' divorce and they blamed themselves for it. And this morning on their way to work, they all had all of these memories come flooding back in, had a breakdown, and then they come into work grumpy and unknowingly projected onto you or me or the people around them. We really are being invited to have patience with one another because that's what's going on right now. It is another round of purging for a lot of people. And moving on, I'm going to end on this note. That can sometimes be felt by those of us, there's a lot of us that consider ourselves empaths. We are all empaths. So that's why it's even more important, if we're awakening to the fact that we can feel other people's emotions and energies, we really have to remember that it doesn't belong to us. It is not our responsibility to process the emotional charge that some people are leaking out of their body. It's our responsibility to recognize and acknowledge that, oh, that I'm feeling this other person's sadness. And I can stabilize my frequency and not get sucked into their process, because that's their process. It is not my job as an empath to feel and to process everybody else's emotions. That's an entire other video. But I think that's where a lot of people are starting to go, okay, I can't. The energies are too strong. I can't handle it. That's temporary. That will eventually be shifted, if you will. And maybe I'll do another video on that if that's something that feel like we need to talk about that. But in love and light, in the meantime, process your own stuff, right? And sometimes if we're being guided to help somebody else process their trauma, it's really important that we process our own trauma, because sometimes it can bring up things we haven't processed. And that's when we go, oh, okay, that triggered me to process something I haven't dealt with, so thank you. So there's a lot of beautiful things that can come out of these charge that we're feeling. And so perhaps in another video, I'll talk about the empathic stuff and charge and what that means for me. And maybe I'll do another whiteboard video. I haven't done one in a while. But anyways, in love and light, guys, namaste.